Alright, so this is the Volt Per Octave setup for calibrating your spectrum. So I'll show you how to do the top side, and then if you do need to do the octave calibration, there's a trim pot on the back, and I'll explain that in a minute. So first thing you're going to want to do is just have like a steady voltage source. So we have this module here that it just outputs 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. But you'll just want to like set up to 0 volts and then like 6 volts, like exactly. So like I always check this to make sure it's calibrated. So when it says 0 volts, this thing will read out 0.000 as long as all of the connections are solid. And then go up to the 6 volts. And so right now I just do a little bit of calibration here. You will probably just like adjust the knob a little bit, and it'll be a little finicky because usually it's a little sensitive. So once we're doing, once you've calibrated on that to calibrate your oscillator, you just want to make sure you have a stable like voltage source. You'll go to your volt per octave input, and then just choose whichever waveform you want to listen to look at your tuner. It turns out the cleanest on our strobe tuner with the triangle or sine because there's less harmonic content. So then I just have it tuned to C at 440 hertz on the bottom octave. So so right now it's like 32 something hertz, but I'll basically tune it to the bottom C until that the little notch here, which I don't know if it'll really show up on the camera because the frame rate and stuff.
You can kind of see it.
You can kind of see that this, like, when it's on an octave, it'll be like solid on that, like it'll be a solid ring, like dotted ring on which octave it's on. So this one's pretty well and calibrated, so I'm just going to throw it out of whack for a little bit. So I'll throw it this way, just like a bunch, just to like show like an example of what you would, like this would be like an extreme case. I know yours is probably pretty close, but just when it's way out, you're going to first start at bottom octave. So we're at C0, and at the initial part it's not so important to be perfect, so then when we do that I go to whatever octave, and then I add like I usually add like 2 volts and let's see, so then we once we're up here, you don't adjust it, sorry, you will go to that octave and then you will tune up to it from with your coarse tune and fine tune. You'll tune to that octave that it's supposed to be on. So if you were at 0 octaves and you went up 2 octaves, you'll want to tune to the 3rd ring. But like if you're not looking at rings, you're just going to want to tune to the closest octave and then go back down to 0 volts, and now your bottom octave is going to be out of whack, and that's when you're going to adjust this calibration. So when it's sharp, you're going to want to turn it clockwise to flatten it, and when it's flat, you're going to want to turn it counterclockwise to sharpen it. So then when we're back at the bottom octave and we just adjusted the calibration, go back up a couple octaves. You're going to have to like walk this a couple of times. So now we're going to walk it up a little bit again because it's still flat, and now the bottom is sharp. So then we do a little tweak there, and then like as you get closer, then I add more octaves just to like it becomes a little bit easier to see the window. Yeah, so then once you're there, go back. You kind of just play this game of teeter-tottering between them all. So now it's pretty solid at octave 6, and usually we only calibrate the 6 octaves because the 7th octave is really painful. It's sometimes really hard to see, and that's an insane range. It's and you just want to make sure it looks pretty stable on all octaves. So pretty solid, really solid. But yeah, and then it just kind of depends how much time you want to spend on it to get it super perfect. So, and because it's analog, it can only be so perfect, you know. And then so once you've done the top Volproctive, if you want to calibrate the octave buttons, you can do that. So usually I just go up to like octaves 6 over here, and then go to this back octave trimmer and adjust it like so. And it's pretty finicky and pretty touchy, so very light adjustments, like just like hairs, you know, like you're gonna be super touchy with this thing because that trimmer is a lot more sensitive. And then you'll just check the octaves on it. And when you adjust the octave trimmer on the back, you'll want to go back to the front and then adjust it. You're gonna play a game with it, because usually like when you adjust one, it kind of affects the other, and you'll just have to lock them both until they're pretty equal. But the octave button, like clockwise sharpen and counterclockwise flattens, so it's backwards on this one. So to flatten you go clockwise, and to sharpen you go counterclockwise. But everything on the, like, just to reiterate, is you'll start with your bass octave, go up, and then use the coarse and fine tune knobs to tune to that octave, and then go back to the bottom by like either removing the cable or going back to 0 volts, and then tuning with the trimmer to get to your bottom octave, and then go back up, use these two knobs again, and then once you're tuned, then you go back down to your bottom octave, and then adjust the trimmer until you're at a nice even curve where there's no out of tunage. And that is how you tune your Spektrum.